Welcome back, friends. In the previous video, we discussed about the 20th century and why the 20th century was called as the age of extremes. And we have discussed the causes for the world wars. And in specific, we spoke about the immediate cause for the happening of World War One. And then we discussed the Russian Revolution. In this video, we'll be talking about economic depression. What is depression? Where did it start? In which year did it start? And for how much long it continued? And which countries were severely affected by depression? So everything will be covering it in detail. So let us now discuss the first topic of this part, that is economic depression. So before we begin the topic, it is very important that we know the meaning of the word economic depression. So this will make our understanding more easier. So what is this economic depression? Economic depression is basically a prolonged period where the economy experiences significant decline. So the economy of a country, when it faces a lot of problems, economic decline, so these are generally characterized by high unemployment. That means people will not have proper jobs. Okay, there will be reduced consumer spending. People do not spend much because there are no jobs available. There are no work available to the people, so they don't spend money much. And there will also be a lot of business failures in the economy. Okay, there will be a lot of financial hardships in the economy. So all these are the characteristics of economic depression. So when did this economic depression start? The economic depression started in the year 1929 and it continued for a period of 10 years, that is till 1939. So 1939 was also the period when the Second World War started. So that means we can say that the economic depression started in the year 1929 and it continued till the beginning of the Second World War, that is till 1939. So during this decade time, the economy declined. Okay, so the economies of all the countries decline. So when the economy is a decline, there will be a decline in the demand as well. So here you can see, when there is no economic growth in the country, so obviously people will not spend much. So when people do not spend much, there will be a decline in the demand. So since there is a decline in the demand, the factories were closed. Okay, so since there is no demand for products, it is obvious that the factories are bound to close. So since the goods were produced in limited quantities, the prices also increased further. So we know that there is no demand during the economic activity. So since there was no demand in the economic activity, the factories were manufacturing goods only in limited quantities. Okay. So since the goods were produced in limited quantities, the cost of the goods further increased. So normal products even got expensive. Why? Because there is limited quantity available in the market. So since there is limited quantity of goods available in the market, the prices of normal goods also became expensive. So because of all this, the purchasing power of the people reduced. Now, what is this purchasing power? Purchasing power is generally the purchasing capacity of a consumer. Okay, it decides how much a consumer can spend on a particular product. Okay, it determines the power of a consumer to purchase or spend on a particular item, that is called as purchasing power. Since normal goods also started becoming expensive, okay, so the purchasing power of the people reduced. So because of all these things, the demand further went down. Okay, because the people were not able to afford even the basic goods. So since they were not able to afford the basic goods, the demand for the goods also started declining. So this cyclical effect created a lot of unemployment, okay, among the world economies. So this is not specific to one country. The entire world was going through depression. Specifically, uh, the worst affected countries that were going through depression was USA and Germany. Okay, so its effects were seen all over the world, and Here you can see the real incomes of the ordinary people as well as the governments across the world also declines. That means the income of the common people, the income of the governments also started declining. So it is even said that the stock market in the US collapsed during this period, and because of this effect, the entire economy, the entire world's economy started declining. So this period, which lasted for a period of 10 years, that is from 1929, okay, from 1929 to 1939, okay, all the economies of the world had faced severe financial hardships. Okay, there was a downswing in the economy. Okay, there was no employment opportunities to the people. Consumers were not spending money too much. Most of the businesses were failing. Okay, there were financial hardships both among the countries and among the citizens as well. So this decline of economic activity can be termed as economic depression. And we also need to understand that it was also the period that happened after the end of the First World War. So that is also one of the reasons why the world has gone through economic depression. So the economic depression in USA, it must be noted that this was a wide spread depression. USA was not the only country that was going through depression, but if we talk about those countries that were severely affected, so USA would top the list. USA was the country that was severely affected. Apart from USA, the other countries that were severely affected because of economic depression would be Germany and UK, Canada, etc. So these are the countries that were severely affected because of the economic depression. It is said that about 25 percentage of Americans lost their jobs. They became unemployed because of economic depression. And if we take the average of other countries, in other countries about 33 percentage of the people became jobless, unemployed because of the economic depression. So in the previous slide, we have already discussed that during the economic depression, there is a downswing. Okay, the production declines, people become jobless, the factories close down, and because of all these, the trade decline. And at the end, the cities became centers of decline as well. Since there is a decline in the trade, the trade in the cities also started declining. Because of all this, even the farmers were severely affected. It is said that agricultural produce has the prices of agricultural produce had declined up to 60 percentage because of this economic depression. So because of this, about millions and millions of farmers became pauper. Okay, pauperization is a phenomena where people become poorer and poorer because of lack of business opportunity or job. So since they don't have jobs, since they don't have economic activity, since they don't have any kind of work to do, so they become poorer and poorer. So since there is a lot of decline in the economic activity, there is no production, there is no employment, millions of farmers, millions of people started becoming poorer and poorer. So this is believed to be the longest and the worst economic decline faced by modern economy till today. So it is said that this is the worst affected economic depression that the world has witnessed till date. Okay, so what are the consequences? The consequences are devastating. Okay, so poverty increased. Okay, people became poorer and poorer. Okay, people became isolated, they lost their homes, and they were just searching, they were just waiting for big opportunity. They were hopeless and they were suffering from a lot of problems because of this economic activity. Various economists and politicians have expressed their opinions and views as to why this economic depression happened throughout the globe. So we'll discuss some of the views of the economist on the causes of this depression. So the Marxist economists argued that this kind of crisis happened because of capitalism. They also thought that it could be prevented by the establishment of socialism. So the Marxist economists are those economists who followed the ideology of Karl Marx. Karl Marx is an economist who always promoted for having a classless society, and where the wealth and the power is equally distributed among the society, so that there is equality in the society. So the people who followed the Marxist ideologies are called as Marxist economists. So, according to the Marxist economist, the depression was witnessed because of the existence of capitalism. Now, what is capitalism? Capitalism is where the freedom and the liberty is given to the private people to set up businesses, to set up enterprises, to set up factories and all. So that is called as capitalism, where the liberty is given to the private people to come up with new ventures and business opportunities. So the Marxist blamed capitalist and capitalism for this economic decline, and they also said that this could have been prevented. Okay, so this economic depression could have been prevented if socialism was existing. So on the other hand, economists like J.M. Keynes, okay, he argued that state is responsible for keeping the economy going. Keynes even argued that during economic decline, when the demand decreases, the state should invest funds and generate employment, which will help people to earn money and demand goods in the market. So, on the other hand, the economists like J.M. Keynes, they say that it is the responsibility of the government to keep the economy growing. So, according to J.M. Keynes, if there is an economic decline, the government should take up the responsibility. It should invest more funds. It should continue the production in the factories, so that the work is going on, the production is continuing, and the people are continuing with their jobs. So when the people have jobs, they even spend. So that is how the economy goes on. So he says that the entire responsibility lies on the government. So he says that if there are signs of economic decline, he says that the government should invest more and more money so that the production keeps going. And when the production keeps going, the employment opportunities are available to the people. And when the employment opportunities are available, people will keep spending the money. So he says that the entire responsibility, okay, lies with the government. So when the government is investing the money, so when the government is investing the money, we can protect the economy from depression. So that was the viewpoint expressed by J.M. Keynes. So, since we have discussed that USA had faced the severe and the worst economic crisis during the Depression of 1929, what did it do to overcome that depression? So, for that, we will talk about the role of Franklin Roosevelt, okay, who became the president of US during that time. So, to overcome from the depression, he announced a program called the New Deal program. So this was implemented by the president of the USA, Franklin Roosevelt. So this New Deal promised relief to the victims of depression. That means the people who were severely affected because of the depression. He brought this program called New Deal so that he could provide relief to the victims, the sufferers of the depression. So his New Deal program basically consisted of 3 R's. Okay, so what are the 3 R's? 3 R's stands for relief, recovery, and reform. So these are the 3 R's that were part of Franklin Roosevelt's New Deal program. So this New Deal program actually aimed at reforming the financial institutions. So what are the financial institutions? Banks. Okay, so banks are the financial institutions, and other financial institutions. So Franklin Roosevelt wanted to reform it, and he has taken so many steps to ensure the economic recovery. So he also wanted to recover the economy. So in order to recover the economy, he undertook many large public works also. So what are public works? Public works are those works aiming at uh, improving the infrastructure, or carrying out developmental projects, so that employment opportunities can be provided in exchange for this public works. However, when the war started, state expenditure on armies and armaments suddenly increased. So during the year 1939, when the war again started, that is the Second World War, automatically the state, that is the government, started started investing on armies and armaments. Okay, because countries, when they go to war, they need arms and weapons. So that is where the government was spending more on armies, manufacturing of arms, and it started spending on armies. So this increased the factory production. So this led to the increase in the factory production, and also the demand for the farm produced increase. He also introduced the much needed social security systems in the US. It established a permanent system of universal retirement pensions and unemployment insurance. So when Franklin Roosevelt bought the New Deal program, so apart from the New Deal program, he also introduced many welfare schemes for the benefit of the public. Okay, so such programs included universal retirement pension and unemployment insurance. So what are retirement pensions? Retirement pensions are basically they're like a pension that is given to a person when he retires. At the age of retirement, a sum of money is given to them so that they can secure their future. That is called as retirement pension. And he also introduced a scheme called unemployment insurance. So what is this unemployment insurance? Unemployment insurance is a scheme where a person, when he loses his job, some amount of money is given to him to cope up with situations. So such kind of insurances are called as unemployment insurance. So these are some of the schemes that were implemented by Franklin Roosevelt apart from the New Deal program. Okay, it also gave certain other welfare benefits to the handicapped. So the people who are handicapped, some kind of welfare benefits were provided to them, and special benefits were given to the children in those families who did not have fathers. So some kind of welfare benefits were given to such children who do not have the fathers, or probably to those children who have lost their fathers in the battlefield. So benefits were provided to such children, and it also established the framework for the US welfare system. So all these welfare programs provided a basis. Okay, so that is how USA started thinking about the welfare system, children. So just like USA, Britain also had a welfare system. Okay, so Great Britain had already taken this lead in dealing with depression even before it occurred. That means even before depression had striked the economy of Britain, they have already implemented some of the welfare schemes. So what are these welfare schemes? It included unemployment insurance that we discussed in case of USA. The same kind of employment insurance was given by the Britain government, and old age pension schemes were included in the welfare system. Towards the end of the Second World War, Britain also adopted so many social security measures like unemployment doles, sickness coverage, health schemes, and childcare, etc. So these are some of the social security measures that were implemented by Britain as well. So all this made up the idea of welfare state. So what is a welfare state? A welfare state is a state that focuses on the welfare of the people of a country. So when Britain started implementing such kind of welfare states, uh, such ideas were getting promoted across the world. Okay, so it threw light on the concept of welfare states, and since then the other countries also started focusing on the idea of welfare state. Okay, so in simple words, you can say the welfare state aims at giving its citizens the basic dignified life. Okay, so when Britain was coming up with such kind of welfare system in their economy, it gave lot of attention to the other countries that they also should focus on the welfare state. It also took care of the elementary needs. So Britain at the same time was also taking care of the basic needs that are necessary for the survival of human beings, like food, housing, healthcare, children and old age care, education, etc. Let us now finally discuss about economic depression in Germany. As we have discussed that US and Germany were the worst affected countries of depression. Now we'll discuss about the economic depression in Germany. So Germany was already going through a lot of problems. Germany was asked to pay fines both in terms of monetary and territorial compensation. So German was already having a lot of burden apart from the depression. So to overcome this, the German government started printing additional currency notes on the large scale. So when German government started printing more and more currency notes, this resulted in excessive inflation. Now, what is excessive inflation? Excessive inflation is a situation in the economy where the money loses its value because of the abundance of currency available. The value of the currency reduces. So everything becomes costly. So because of this printing of additional currency, it is said that people had to carry currency in carts just to buy one loaf of bread. So to buy one loaf of bread, they had to carry currencies in carts. Okay, why? Because the currency was printed in large scale and there was abundance of supply of currency. The money lost its value and this resulted in excessive inflation, children. So German economy, as we all know, that it was the worst hit by depression. By 1932, industrial production completely reduced to how much percentage? Industrial production was reduced to 40 percentage. So because of this phenomena, many workers lost their jobs and they were paid reduced wages. It was said that about 6 million people became unemployed, and on the streets of Germany, you could find people holding placards around their neck, and what was written on that placard? It was written, willing to do any kind of work. So that means because they don't have any jobs, they were roaming around in the streets carrying placards, and on the placards, what is written? Uh, we are willing to do any kind of work. So such kind of messages were written around their neck because that shows the desperation of the people for work. Okay, so unemployed youth on the other hand was seen playing with the cards, and simply they were sitting at the street corners because they don't have jobs. They were sitting idle and they were desperately queuing up at the local employment exchange. Now what are local employment exchanges? They are like the centers of the government that provide notification about the job and employment opportunities. So millions and millions of people were waiting for they were desperately waiting up in the queues for search of job opportunities across the employment exchanges. As there were very few jobs, the youth had no other option but to take up the criminal activities. So all this created total despair in the society. Since there was no proper jobs, the youth often engaged themselves in criminal activities, and there was complete despair. There was a lot of problems in the society because of this economic depression.